I'm out here at the Lake St. Louis Walmart charging station to get a real boots on the ground look at what's actually going on with the mid-year numbers. Between the new Cox Automotive reports on car sales and the latest tracking from Perrin, we have a ton of data to dig through at the 6-month mark. Now normally for these quick updates, I'll tell you let's pull some shots, but honestly, this one's more of a pour over. We've all seen the clickbait over the last few months. The mainstream media is practically screaming that the electric vehicle transition is completely dead in the water. And honestly, if you look at the one single spreadsheet they keep blasting on the news, they actually have a point. In the first half of this year, automakers sold just under 464,000 new EVs in the US, compared to over 600,000 sold by this time last year. That is a sharp 23.7% plunge year over year. Q1 was down over 27%, Q2 was down 20%, and market share has completely flattened to 5.8%. But here's the mistake the media is making. They're treating the new car showroom like it's the entire universe. It's not. What we're living through right now isn't a sudden collapse in consumer demand, it's a massive policy hangover. At the end of last year, major federal EV purchase incentives expired. That triggered an absolute buying frenzy in late 2025 before the clock struck midnight. What we're seeing right now in the new car market is just a natural stabilization correction. In fact, the floor didn't fall out at all. Q2 sales actually bounced back nearly 15% sequentially over the first quarter of this year. Tesla's Model Y is still an absolute juggernaut, moving over 163,000 units. And look at Toyota. They basically doubled their EV volume this year, with the BZ climbing almost 90% to snatch the number 4 sales spot in the country. Now, let me give you a quick heads up right now so you can beat the algorithm later this year. Do not freak out when the Q3 numbers drop. Remember that massive artificial frenzy in late 2025, right before the tax breaks died? Because that baseline was so ridiculously inflated, the year-over-year headlines for Q3 are going to look absolutely terrifying. The media is going to lose their minds. But if you look at the current sequential growth rate, the math shows we're actually on track to claw all the way back to those pre-tax break peak market share numbers by this time next year. The trend line is aggressively pointing up. The comparison data is just skewed. So the new car market is just resetting. But while everyone is hyper-focused on that reset, a massive, completely unsubsidized secondary EV boom is happening right under our noses. While new car buyers pulled back from premium sticker prices, the used EV market absolutely smashed records. An estimated 243,000 plus used EVs changed hands in the first half of this year. That is a massive 28% jump over last year. And what makes this insane is that it's happening on pure, raw consumer economics. The federal $4,000 used EV tax credit completely expired last September. The media explicitly predicted the secondary market would tank without it. Instead, it set records. Why? Because the 3-year lease tsunami is finally hitting the beach. The massive wave of vehicles leased back in 2023 and 2024 are flooding back onto dealer lots simultaneously. Dealerships are aggressively pricing pristine, low-mileage 3-year-old electric cars right into a highly accessible $20,000 to $25,000 sweet spot, and they're doing it out of an absolute necessity to move inventory. Used EVs are flying off lots so fast that inventory supply dropped to just 31 days, which means used electric cars are turning over faster than standard gas and hybrid vehicles right now. Now, I might be a little biased here because I bought this Mach-E used, but here's the beautiful psychological trap of the used market. It's the ultimate gateway drug. Buyers aren't picking up used EVs as a temporary experiment. They're using it as a low-risk, affordable test drive to see if the electric Transit fits their lifestyle. Once they spend 2 or 3 years realizing the battery doesn't degrade overnight, maintenance costs are practically non-existent, and charging at home is incredibly convenient, the consumer baseline completely shifts. Registration data tracks this exact evolution. When it's time to trade their first car, and fewer than 6% of those drivers ever go back to a gasoline vehicle. Instead, they take that hard-earned confidence and step right up to the new car showroom, buying a brand new EV for their second vehicle. The booming market isn't just absorbing drivers. It's actively teeing up the next generation of EV adopters by providing a low-cost entry point. It's manufacturing the premium new car buyers of tomorrow. So if the driver pool is expanding, what's happening to the grid? Well, the charging networks clearly aren't reading the new car headlines. They're laying down hardware faster than ever before. As of this summer, the United States officially hit a massive milestone of over 74,000 public DC fast charging ports. The grid added over 6,000 net new fast charging stalls in just the first 6 months of this year, meaning infrastructure deployment is moving nearly 36% faster than it did during the same period last year. Tesla is still the raw volume king, adding almost 3,000 ports, though their total grid share slipped down to just under 50%. But the big story is the non-Tesla network stepping on the gas. Midwest regional powerhouse REDI added 580 ports by aggressively targeting retail and hospitality lots. In third place, Ionna, the brand new automaker joint venture, had an absolute breakout second quarter, activating 545 ports and deploying massive flagship 400 kilowatt hubs. Electrify America added 495 ports, and EVgo brought 380 ports online. But the real dark horse to watch on this list is Walmart. They're no longer just playing landlord to networks like Electrify America. They're building a proprietary standalone in-house network, adding 290 ports in the first half of this year alone and pushing past the 600 stall milestone. They're going zero compromise, installing premium 400 kilowatt dispensers featuring dual native CCS and NACS cords and averaging over 8 stalls per hub to maximize throughput. And CPOs aren't just building more, they're building better. The average new station opened last year jumped to 4.8 ports per location. The national average utilization rate actually dipped slightly to 15.6%. That's a massive win for drivers. It proves infrastructure growth is finally outstepping vehicle volume, meaning shorter lines and less travel anxiety. And then we have the federal side of the equation, the NEVI program. After a painfully slow start last year, the pipeline broke wide open. The U.S. officially crossed the 1,000 active operational NEVI port milestone this half, adding 856 federally funded stalls since January 1st. But when you look at the pure CPO breakdown for NEVI builds, a completely different king emerges. EVgo dominates the NEVI race with 236 energized ports, heavily driven by their truck stop partnerships. Tesla slides in the second with 168 NEVI ports, utilizing open access V4 cabinets with integrated magic docks to satisfy federal rules. Independent pure play Francis Energy captured the third spot with 84 ports, aggressively building out central corridor gaps. And operators are heavily future-proofing their sites. While the feds only require 150 kilowatt minimum, 67% of all new NEVI ports deployed this year are pushing a blistering 250 to 350 plus kilowatts. But here's the final ultimate shift to track this year. This isn't just about trenching new wire. It's the year of the hardware reset. CPOs have stopped blindly throwing pins at the map just to boost their numbers. And they're spending massive capital replacing unreliable first-generation tech. Electrify America has quietly ripped out and completely upgraded over 1,100 of their legacy chargers with balanced, highly reliable next-gen hardware to fix their reputation for maintenance nightmares. EVgo Renew is running a total footprint overhaul, expanding their modern 350 kilowatt units and executing an aggressive push to deploy over 500 native NACS connectors to new and existing sites by the end of the year. And look at Ionna. They're literally stepping in to save real estate from bad legacy hardware. They just entered a strategic partnership to assume operations and completely upgrade 85 existing Circle K charging locations across the US. They're ripping out the old, slow, shared hardware and replacing them with the flagship 400 kilowatt dual core beasts. Even regional players are swallowing their pride instead of trying to build custom software and fragile custom hardware. Smaller networks are turning to white label programs like Tesla Supercharger for Business, buying pre-assembled V4 hardware to guarantee instant uptime right out of the box. So let's tie it all together. The EV slowdown is a total illusion created by looking at a single narrow phase of the automotive life cycle. The reality on the ground is that affordable used electric cars are flying off dealership lots. Their owners are staying for electric life. And the infrastructure grid is accelerating nearly 36% faster than last year to catch them. The media wants you to look at the 23% dip in new car sales and think we're trapped, surrounded, and losing the fight. It reminds me of a legendary Marine Corps general, Chesty Puller, at the Battle of Chosin Reservoir. When his men were completely surrounded on all sides by an overwhelming force, he just looked at his troops and said, all right, they're on our left, they're on our right. They're in front of us, they're behind us. They can't get away this time. That is exactly where the EV transition is right now. The anti-EV headlines are on our left, the leggy databases are on our right, the premium new vehicle segments are stalling out in front of us. But with the used market exploding, driver retention locked in at almost 99%, and charging networks deploying higher powered hubs at record-breaking pace, they can't get away this time. The infrastructure is catching up, the cars are getting affordable, and the shift is entirely inevitable. So, let me know in the comments below. Have you noticed the shift in your local charging hubs this summer? Drop your thoughts, hit that subscribe button, help the channel grow, and I'll see you on the next one.